So, Julia, it's coming up to National Tile Week. Give us a bit of a background about why you've started to front this particular campaign.
Well, I always have enjoyed using tiles, and particularly over the last sort of decade or so, digital printing technology has come on so much. There are such beautiful tiles out there. And in this country, we just don't use them as a material, as creatively as we could do. So I'm really keen to change the perception of that, and also to change the perception of how difficult people think they are to lay, because actually it's a good DIY job. It's something that people can try for themselves.
Are we creatures of habit? Are we just so dependent on carpet and wallpaper and laminate flooring? Are we lacking a sense of adventure?
I think that's true. Certainly historically, in UK homes, people have used carpet. In the last decade or two, wooden floors have become, more prevalent. But actually, we are the only country pretty much in the world that doesn't have tiled floors as a standard. If you think of Mexican Saltillo tiles or German porcelain tiles, across the States and Australia, they all use ceramic tiles, porcelain tiles as standard. And I think it probably goes back to, obviously, not having centrally heated homes, but of course that's not the case anymore. We all have centrally heated homes now. And with underfloor heating, becoming, more prevalent also. There's no reason why people shouldn't consider tiled flooring, because it's, it's practical, it's durable, and it looks fantastic.
And going back a couple of generations, we mainly used to holiday within the UK, and yet now it's more affordable to go to all far-flung places in the world. Do you think that's influenced our inspiration for tiling and decorating our rooms differently?
I think it's bound to have done, yes. I mean, you can't really help but go to, places like Morocco or Spain or Italy and see all the beautiful tile patterns, and come home and not feel inspired. We all want to bring a sense of, the lovely feelings that we have when we're on holiday, back home with us. So, that's one way that you can do so, and just put a little bit of that sort of wonderful life and energy back into your home from that you might have seen when you've been away.
And I guess even if you don't physically go to these places, with the likes of Instagram and Pinterest, it's never been easier to seek that inspiration, even if you don't physically go there.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And, it's so easy now to get phenomenal ideas and inspiration online. When I first started out in the industry, which is a very long time ago now, I'd have to go into London just to, find a trimming for a client or, fabric or whatever it might be. Of course, now I can do so much for online. And for anyone who's putting their own room schemes together, there are just 1,000,001 different ideas out there. That you can absolutely find something to suit you. Pinterest I find really useful, particularly because if people aren't particularly aware of their own personal style, if you can start creating your own collage boards, your own Pinterest boards for a room, you'll find that there's a common thread that starts to appear, and you can start whittling down what you like and what you don't like. So it's a really good idea, really good resource for creating, your own room scheme that you're going to love and that will have longevity.
Absolutely. And we've talked about the different countries in the world that tend to be more prevalent with their use of tiles. Are they used in different ways? Are there certain countries that tend to use them just on the floor, countries that more tend to use them on the walls, for example?
Well, again, across Europe particularly, you will see tiled flooring throughout the entire house. Whereas, again, in the UK, it's tend to have been the domain just of bathrooms and kitchens. And in fact, places like Australia and the States, there's tiled walls throughout. There's a lot of solid surfaces. So in the UK, I think we haven't really latched onto that as much as we could do. But designers like myself, for the last, decade or so, have been using tiles a lot more around the home as more and more wonderful textures and lustrous surfaces, become available. So creating a real feature. So it could be, a lovely slate wall behind a fireplace, for example, to create a feature. Or it could be a metallic finish or mosaic behind a bed to create a focus for the headboard wall as well. So there's lots of different creative ways that you can use tiles, which is, really exciting.
What are as an expert in this area, what are the mistakes that people make when it comes to tiling? Is it colour choice? Is it material choice? What are the pitfalls?
I think most people tend to be, unadventurous, which is a shame because they're just so worried that they're going to make a mistake or overdo something. And particularly with something that has a sense of permanence like tiling does, which is in itself a great thing because once it's done, it's potentially done forever. So if you get it right and it looks amazing, then that's great. It's, one job ticked off the list for 10 years or more, which is super. But because people are worried about that, I think they tend to be less adventurous. But there's a great way to get over that. And if you put a mood board together for your room scheme and have a play with all of the different elements of the room that you're intending to use on the mood board, you can see whether you're going to get it right or not. You can see if your tile choices, your flooring choices, curtains, blinds, whatever it might be. If it all looks a little bit bland and unadventurous on the board, then that's exactly how it's going to look and feel in the room. So if you want more of a wow factor, if you want to do something a little bit more punchy, with a bit more energy, you can create that on your mood board. And once you know you've got it right, then you can commit to actually buying the tiles and everything else for the room and know that you're going to have a successful result.
They are addictive. I remember just tiling a bathroom, and then now almost every room in my house is kind of covered in tiles. But I've never actually tiled myself. Mm-hmm. I have I feel like I'm a fast learner, but tiling, I just think that's too scary.
It's interesting, isn't it? Well, National Tile Week research has shown that 3/4 of people in this country would rather have a professional tiler than to try it for themselves. And, we all learn how to, cut paper when we're a child. So therefore, wallpapering feels like an easy option. Mm-hmm. But as soon as you get something solid like a tile in front of you, people do get scared. And that's a shame because, it's really no different to cutting paper. You just have a different tool to do it. And so long as you either hire or borrow, a professional tile cutter, if, the sort of tiles that you have require it, and just, take a little bit of time to, get to grips with it. It's no more difficult than, wallpapering. And of course, you're not going to end up with wallpaper curling at the corners. Once it's up, which is great. And you get a real sense of achievement as well from tiling and having that room, that you've done for yourself, and you can save a fortune, of course, as well.
Absolutely. I mean, there's kind of the money-saving benefits to learning that thing, and I think once you do it, you probably feel more confident doing it again in the future. The latest statistics say that we're less likely to move homes now as a result of increasing, let's say, stamp duty, increasing cost of moving home. Do you think that is going to encourage more people to look at maybe slightly larger investment home improvements like tiling rooms and things like that? I
think that's absolutely right. There's no doubt that, obviously it's extremely expensive to get on the property ladder now. So it's interesting that the researchers picked up that it's the millennials that are really leading the home improvement, at the moment. And they're happily, taking on DIY jobs around the home. I think for my generation, I know my parents were great at DIY. So a lot of my, friends relied on their parents to do the DIY around the homes. But of course, because our generation tends to not be that skilled, our children are now going, so we've got to do it. And of course, they don't have the money necessarily to pay trades because it's so expensive to get on the property ladder in the first place. And yes, you're right that because we're not moving so often now and our home is seen as our home rather than just a cash cow, that we might be selling on in a few years' time to make a profit, people are paying more attention to their interior to create a home that really suits them, and it's all about creating an environment that they love to be in, and that has a sense of permanence about it as well. And my particular signature style is all around creating a home that isn't transitory. It just sort of feels like it's there to last, and it has a sense of family history around it. So people are investing more, and particularly more in more expensive or more solid finishes that are going to be there and stand the test of time.
And you have the luxury of being able to see lots of different homes and things like that. What do you think is the biggest trend in home improvement, or the thing that you think 5 years from now we're all going to be doing that kind of stuff?
Well, certainly the whole sort of open plan thing has really taken off in the last decade or so. Interestingly, I think that's going to start morphing a little bit now that people are realising that having an open plan kitchen, dining and social space has its downsides too. Families need to have time away from one another. You know, if you've got one big space, there's kind of nowhere to hide, really. And also, you know, when you have friends or, you know, family over, having a pile of dirty dishes or dirty pans on view isn't ideal either. So I think that the whole sort of open plan space might be starting to shift a little bit, which is interesting. So I think we might see some changes there.
And where do you personally get your inspiration from?
Absolutely everywhere, if I'm honest. I think as a designer, you kind of have to. Obviously, I go to trade shows, so I see what's coming up for sort of 2-3 years' time. I find a lot of inspiration actually from going to restaurants and hotels, because when you're not working as a designer, when you're not working for a private client, but it's a commercial environment, it's all about creating a sense of magic and sense of theatre. So in hotels and restaurants, they want to create a really buzzy energy, or somewhere that people really want to go back to. And I think you can really pick up on that and pick up some of the strands of the design from those sort of places to create a little bit of magic in your own home.
Absolutely. And final question, really, because we've got very much an audience interested in finance and money. Is tiling a good way to improve the value of a property, do you think?
I think absolutely it is. The reason being because, you know, a lot of people realise that, you know, there's a fair amount of disruption whenever you do any sort of decorating project. And, you know, potentially, you know, if you're paying a tradesperson to do it, you know, it's expensive. People do realise the benefit of you know, tiled space, and it also can look fantastic. You know, if you are thinking of selling on at some point in the future, a tiled, you know, beautifully tiled room will really help to uplift the value of the property. You know, because it will just look amazing. It will help to bounce light around the space. You know, solid surfaces will always make a room feel bigger. So there's lots of benefits to it.
Excellent. And where can we go for more information on National Tile Week?
Very easy. Just nationaltileweek.com.
Thank you very much. Thanks for joining me on the show today.
You're very welcome.